Okay, just full disclosure, we're recording right now. So I just want to make sure you all can hear me and I can hear you before we go on. Can someone please say something?
Something.
Hi, how you doing?
Yay, huzzah.
That's good.
8 minutes. So sorry, guys. I have the worst tech problems in the last 24 hours, but it's just the way of life. So we are just going to go with it. We're going to roll with it, right? So thank you all for being here for our second class topic in this year's Quantum Dojo course. As you know, this is about activating your third eye, the pineal gland. And I just would like to encourage you, even though you may have a lot of education or even experience with your own third eye or know a lot about the pineal gland, to just come in to the dojo every time we get together as kind of, as Bruce Lee used to say, come in as an empty cup. When your cup is empty, you can receive more fullness. And so that's how I try to go into all kinds of classes myself. And I hope that you will also find it in our class today. I just wanted to just say hello to everyone. We are recording, so if you don't wish to have your face on the recording, you can, turn your video icon off, but it's really fun if we can see your face because, as a class, we like to interact with each other and it brings better coherence. And the coherence in the class is really important for some of the things we're going to be doing today and in the near future as we get into these classes. If you're new and haven't yet listened to the first set of classes, some of you may not even have them, you didn't want them or whatever. We are, let me turn the video off on that one. We are going to just have a very brief overview of the material we went over last month because it is kind of a fundamental thing that we're going to build on today and in the next class on, I believe, the 19th of December. So this class in particular is super important because we really want to get that pineal gland awakened, activated, and ready to go for connecting with our other gifts, like, channeling, like energy work, like remote viewing, like telepathy as I like to call it, your intuition, healing, all of these things. All of this information and all of the gifts that we use are literally pulled in and filtered through that little tiny cosmic antenna we call the pineal gland. So I just really want to encourage you to be open, and we will do some fun exercises together today. Then we're going to do a kind of as we always do, a deep meditation together, a guided meditation, a journey, if you will, which will help you really go make a deep dive into the information that we are learning and be able to actually absorb it and understand it well and use it after class. We'll do some exercises before the journey and after the journey, and we're going to do the same set of exercises to compare how you did the first time as opposed to the second time that we have in some of the practices. So that's kind of where we're going today. And please feel free to use the raise hands function, which is, I believe, is it in the chat or it's in participant? I can't ever see it because I'm the host, but I believe it's in the participants. If you have a question, is it okay? So if you have a question, just go into the participants little thing where you see the two people and click on the little hand and it will raise your hand and I'll be able to call on you and unmute you because we're going to be muted here pretty soon. So I want to get really into the information soon just because, that's what you're here for, not for a bunch of chit chat. But we always have to do kind of this housekeeping stuff. So just to be respectful in the dojo, we take turns. Even when I have you all unmuted, it's a really good thing to be respectful and not interrupt if someone else is talking, and to just wait for a pause and then come in. It usually works out just great because we don't have a ton of people live today. So that'll work great. Yeah. And then also you can use the chat function and type to everyone or to a certain person privately. Once I get going, I usually can't take time to look at the chats, especially when I'm going through some of the exercises, but feel free to use the chat. And if I see it pop up, I'll answer, but I highly recommend using the raised hands, or even just if you're on visual, just do this. You can't figure out the raised hands and I'll call on you. Okay. Any questions about that stuff? Cool. All right. Well, I'm so honored that you came today. I know that Sunday is a really tough day for most of you. Andy White, you're in the UK and it must be the middle of the night for you now. So kudos to you, brother, for joining us. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Got the lights off in here.
Okay. I just wanted to give a shout out to you because I realized what time it is where you are. And I'm like, dude,
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, all right. So before I get started on the educational piece proper, does anyone have any questions or comments about what we're going to do today or what we've done in our past classes? Do you have anything you'd like to share about maybe the homework that you've been doing? Hopefully those of you who came in November have been doing homework. So anybody have questions or comments about the work that we're doing? And please feel free, because somebody else probably has the same question. They might be too shy. Okay, if no one has a question, how many of you who were here in November have been practicing the protocols that we gave? Kathy, very good. Christina, Daniel, awesome. For those of you who weren't here, I will go over that now just very briefly, but know that it's much more extensive. So I can send you the handout from the last classes if you weren't here. Do any of you who have been doing the practice, do you have any observations about, you know, how you've matured over these last few weeks with it, or did you have any cool experiences or anything like that? If you want to speak about that. Christina? Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I'm going deeper a lot faster.
Cool.
Which is nice because sometimes it can take a good bit to really get into that part of the, you know, that brainwave for it, and deeper too. So deeper and faster. Yeah. I usually prior, I would not see a lot of color, just like maybe one color kind of fading in and out, like an orb sort of or something. And now I've been seeing different colors and kind of like lightning streaks and just different things. So I'm like, oh, good. My pineal gland is.
Yeah, cool.
So
that's wonderful. That's why the homework is to practice even for a few minutes every day, at least once a day, because the more you do it, the deeper you go, and the deeper you go, the more opens up to you. The more of this opens up to you, and you just get vaster and vaster, you know, I guess, entangled in the information of the wider vista of the universe of quantum consciousness. When you first start it, you know, it's like learning how to ride a bike or drive a car. There's so many things that you think you have to remember. You might even have to make a checklist, and, you know, and it feels clunky and awkward and kind of irritating to have to go through these steps. But you will get that reward even if it's just a slight change and you notice it, you'll get a little reward. Remember, for those of you who weren't here, I call it training the puppy. Okay, we call your mind, your ego personality, the puppy. When you train a puppy, you know, they're so, you know, happy and frolicking, and they're full of energy, and they're everywhere all at once, and they're doing 14 things at the same time. Well, it's, you know, they're cute and super lovey, and you're like, man, I don't want to train them right now because they're so much fun. But if you don't train the puppy, you know, as it grows, it may run out in front of a car because it doesn't know how to recall to your command, or it may get into something that it shouldn't when it's not supposed to go into the kitchen, right? And that might be dangerous. So I call this training the puppy. And the 3 things we want to train the puppy to do are sit, settle, and stay. The stay part's the hardest. If you think about a puppy, you can get them to sit. Usually that's pretty easy. You just put your hand on their butt, say sit, they sit. As they mature, settles even better. They kind of, you know, if you deep breathe and you pet them as they're sitting and they're being good, then they'll settle down a little bit. But stay is the hardest thing. The minute you take your eyes off of their eyes, they're up running around again, right? And that's how your mind acts. It will sit. You'll sit for your meditation, for your practice, and you might even settle by doing a couple of deep breaths and saying, okay, I'm in my space. I've got my little eye mask on if you have one, and maybe soft music or whatever. And then 20 seconds in, you'll be like, oh, this is so good. Why don't I do this more? And 30 seconds in, an idea will pop in your mind. Oh, I forgot. I need to fix breakfast for everybody in the morning tonight because, you know, blah, 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 blah. Or I need to go to the grocery store for this. And then you think about the grocery store, and you think about a person you don't want to see. So you're going to go at a certain time. And pretty soon the puppy around the room again and getting into all kinds of mischief. So sit, settle, and stay, the 3 S's, are what we use to bring ourselves back. My guru, my yogic guru, would use the neti, neti, neti mantra. Neti is Sanskrit for not this. So if you like using a mantra, sit, settle, and stay is also a mantra. It's just in English. But neti, neti, neti. When you sit, and the first time you see your mind wavering from what you're doing, your breath work or your focus behind your eyelids or whatever, just say neti, neti, neti internally. Neti means I'm not that thought. I'm not the energy of that thought. I'm not thought at all. I'm none of this. I am everything, and I have control over everything. So when you first start using the mantra, if you like using a mantra, you're sitting in meditation and the thought comes in, and you recognize it. You're like, oh, congratulations. You recognize that your focus is broken. You say neti, neti, neti internally. Back in meditation. I'm so happy I'm in meditation. I wonder how long I can stay in meditation. My lower back's starting to itch. I hear a mosquito. Oh, neti, 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 neti. Oh, I'm back in. And you might have a second or a half second when you're back in, and then thoughts come back in. Neti, neti, neti. You just keep bringing it back to that if you need to. Or envision the puppy. If you're a visual person, take your mind that's a puppy, put it back on the cushion, tell it to sit, tell it to settle, tell it to stay. And that's what happens. You just keep repeating. Wash, rinse, repeat. So those of you who just, you know, like Christina said, as she got into her practice more, she realized that she was starting to see little tiny glimpses of things that she hadn't seen before. Well, in the puppy training analogy, we call that the treat or the reward, because when you're training a puppy, when they do what you say, you give them a little tasty treat, and that helps to condition the behaviors, you know, Pavlov's rule. So the treat is being able to notice you're getting something new, or you're getting something that feels better, or you're going deeper. Or the treat might be after you're finished, you might get an insight, or you might get an inspiration, or you might feel extra energy to do what you need to do that day, or you just might feel a lightness of being. Be conscious as much as possible and notice the treat, and then receive the treat. Receive it. The treat helps you keep coming back. And just like the puppy, pretty soon you won't need to be looking for the treat, because it will be so interesting what you encounter that that's the treat itself. Just the practice is the treat itself. Okay? So thank you for bringing that up, Christina. It's a very good point. Anybody else have any comments or questions about that? Okay, so for those of you who are new, or those of you who haven't been able to
Hey, you muted your phone and we can't hear you. It's your phone is muted. So there you go.
So I will ask all of you to stay muted now. I can't mute all, because then I mute myself. Good grief. All right, so we're going to dive a little more deeply today. We hit on it in the last couple of classes, but we're going to dive more deeply into what the pineal gland actually is, and why it is so important, why it is so intricately important to, it's actually just kind of, I call it a stargate. It is the stargate to open up to all these other gifts. It's kind of our, I always say the bridge is, or the breath is the bridge between the body and the soul. Well, the gatekeeper for that bridge is the pineal gland. So you have to be good to the pineal gland before, you know, you can cross the bridge. So we do a lot of breath work in this class because it's important. The body needs to be in a good place. It needs to be vibrant. It needs to be able to be comfortable and to be aware and awake. That's why from now until eternity, unless I'm doing something really special, we're going to do our practice sitting or standing up. I highly recommend you sit. I have to stand because I have a standing desk, but we're not going to be lying down or sitting in a recliner. I'll recline back for the guided part today, or for the breathing part, because we want our antenna to be facing straight up and down. We're going to breathe and get that oxygen in and get the brain awake and relax the body so that we can receive the information we need. Okay, so the pineal gland is a very tiny pine cone shaped gland at the top center of the brain. So if you look here, if you think about here, your pituitary gland is right behind that point in your brain. The pituitary gland works in conjunction with the pineal gland, which is straight back and up, more towards the top in the center of the brain. The pituitary, we're not going to talk a lot about. It's more about the physical body, but the pineal gland also does things for your physical body too. So it is kind of a double duty thing. It's a master gland. So it looks kind of like a pine cone, and we'll see, since I'm having crazy problems here, we might not be able to get it up here, but can you guys see that? Now I can't see you. Crazy.
Yes.
You can see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
I
great.
can.
Thanks. I can't see you guys now. So that's what's so, oh, there you are. You're on the side. So the pineal gland, it's kind of pine cone shaped. Okay. You will see in lots and lots of, you'll see in lots and lots of spiritual art, for instance, or ancient art from indigenous cultures, or even Egypt, or Peru, or wherever, you're going to see the pine cone everywhere. You'll see it usually as something that's on the top of someone's head or on their forehead, or it's just placed everywhere. So cultures from all over the world, even in the most ancient of times, recognized that the pineal gland is pine cone shaped. How did they know that? Who knows? They may have been very advanced at one time and, had great medical people or scientists who had studied it. But we have no idea how they knew it, but just take a look at the art everywhere. It's crazy. I wanted to show you something else. Let's see here. Okay. Okay, can you see this picture? Third eye, thalamus, eye of Horus.
No, all I can see is like where you click to open it, but the picture doesn't open on the screen for us. So I don't know if you have to switch something on your windows on your screen. Yeah,
No.
minimize that.
Okay, can you see that now?
No, that didn't change. It didn't minimize the window in my view.
Pictures. Weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
I think maybe you need
There.
there it is.
You see it? Okay, good. So this next picture, I'm sure all of you are familiar with this this very common symbol in Egyptian art and religious art. It's the eye of Horus. But when you look at this picture, the eye of Horus, this is talking, it's talking about the different glands, but the eye of Horus literally is if you took a brain and cut it straight back and open up the two halves in the center, this is what you would see in its build. And so what they're pointing at is the thalamus, which is another important gland. We're not going to talk about that today. The pituitary gland. So this is kind of facing front from your forehead here back. Okay. The pineal gland is right here. But if you look at this construct of the brain, what does that look like? Doesn't it look like this? I've just always been fascinated by that. Here's the whole brain cut in half, and it looks like the eye of Horus. It's just something that I thought was interesting. It's nothing super important. It's just an interesting thing. It's a weird, interesting thing that these ancient people actually based their art, and for a lot of them, their religion, their practices on that. So it tells me that it is extremely important, right? So the pineal gland, its construct, even though it's super tiny, it is super, super powerful. It is the regulator of many hormones and chemicals in our body, very important ones. One of the main ones is melatonin. Maybe some of you know what melatonin is. Maybe some of you even use melatonin to help you rest better at night. Melatonin is a very powerful hormone that allows the brain to relax, but focus mainly in the visual cortex. And that's really important to know. If we want to be visionaries, if we want to see all the colors and get all the symbols and begin to perceive other beings in higher frequency dimensions and so forth, we want to have a very strong visual cortex in our body, because that's what's going to translate the information that's coming in energetically. So it does release melatonin. However, there are, and we'll get into this in our second class more deeply on the function of the pineal gland and how to get it functioning better. But what we do know is that it is extreme, its functionality depends on light levels. Okay, so this is super important to know, especially for you insomniacs. If you are looking at screens all day long, but especially an hour or less before you want to go to sleep, there is a wavelength of light called blue light that comes in, and the pineal gland it absorbs it very quickly, and it represses the release of melatonin. So you see people who are still looking at their phones or working on their computers or looking at their smart TVs or whatever, their tablet, they're reading their Kindle right before bed. If you're not wearing blue blocking glasses or taking other precautions for that, you might fall asleep, but you're not going to sleep very well because you're just getting a little drip, drip, drip of melatonin. And that's what the brain uses to go from waking state, beta brainwave states, into alpha, theta, and finally delta. Delta is when you're sleeping with no visual context, no anything. That's the deepest sleep. Theta is where you are having dreams, where you're doing lucid work, where you're doing out of body stuff. It's also a state that we get into in our practice here, especially in our guided work. So that's kind of where we want to be for this work, and then train the body to be able to be more conscious even while it is resting and asleep. Okay. The other thing about melatonin, sorry guys, this doesn't apply to you much, the males, but the females, your female sex hormones are absolutely tied to melatonin. The healthy function of the hormonal system is tied to melatonin. If you only get a tiny, tiny drip, drip, drip of melatonin during the day because you're allowing yourself to get frazzled, overstimulated, blah, 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 and then you add the blue light stuff in from our devices, even artificial light, you are going to diminish your output, your inner pharmaceutical practitioner from making the right hormones for you to keep in balance. And please know, you have the most powerful pharmaceutical practitioner inside that pineal gland, inside your glands, inside your body. Hormones, you can take bioidentical hormones outside the body. You can take medicine. Sometimes they're very helpful from the pharmacy, but we are finding out, maybe for the second time or the 500th time as human beings, your inner pharmacy is the perfect one for you, and it creates the right dose, the right amount, and the right level of these hormones and chemicals to keep you in balance. And that's what we want to do as part of our quantum shaman journey. Is we want to become more balanced. We want to become more conscious. We want to become more vibrant and healthy and powerful, right? So that's one of the main things that it creates, melatonin. It doesn't hurt to supplement with melatonin. Just don't get dependent on only taking a supplement, because the body's just going to become weaker and weaker and weaker. We want the body to become strong, like a samurai. Okay. So the second one that is far more interesting to talk about is DMT, dimethyl. I know I should have remembered how to say it. Dimethyltryptophan, I think, is the name of the chemical. It is a hormone, very powerful. It is the one that, again, it excites the visual cortex. It is the visionary hormone. So when you have a vivid dream, or you're exercising your imagination, you're daydreaming, and you're seeing things with all this definition, high definition, if you will, you are releasing a tiny little dose of DMT. It's the same drug, if you will, hormone, that is used by indigenous peoples and now a lot of spiritual seekers. That it, they get it, they derive it from a plant. Some get it from a very poisonous frog in the Amazon. Please don't do that. Don't hurt any frogs and don't use the frog. It's not compatible with the body very much, and it's a very rudimentary form of DMT. But they use that in their ceremonies to have these vision quests, okay? And I'm not going to say go and use it or don't use it. That's up to each individual. I have never used that drug, but I do know people who are spiritual seekers who do use it with some interesting results. Again, what I'm trying to get you to understand is that you're already manufacturing it in the perfect form for yourself, for this vessel inside your brain, if you give it the proper foundational elements: breath, making sure the pineal gland is healthy and not calcified. We'll get into that more in the second class, but a little bit today. And focus and practice. You will be able to create that beautiful dose of DMT each time you meditate, and that is going to be the thing that allows your brain to fire up to access the things you want to see, these visions, these colors, these lights, these and then you start to have auditory stuff because it brings the auditory nerve in. You start to have literal physical sensations. It starts to bring everything online. Okay, so when I say the pineal gland produces DMT, don't get freaked out if you're afraid of taking drugs or you're anti-drug person. I'm not saying go out there and buy DMT from some drug dealer and smoke it and use it. Don't, that's where you want to go. That's fine. For our purposes, we're going to create it in the most perfect way in our practice. Okay, and it's wonderful. Little side note about it. We know now from lots of research that DMT is released in an enormous flood when a person is on the brink of death of the body and the brain. And those of us who have had NDEs, near-death experiences, can attest to the fact that we do have visions, that we do see things. Most of us have incredible journeys that seem like they last eons long, and it might be for 30 seconds you've blinked out. I've had two. And I'm here to tell you, the universe is beautiful and it's all okay. That's why I'm not afraid of death, because it's, people are so afraid of this, maybe I think the suffering that leads up to death, if you're sick or you're in a car wreck or something. But at that moment, when the consciousness leaves the body, there's a flood of DMT that helps that journey across that, what we call the rainbow bridge. That's why they call it the rainbow bridge, because it's all full of colors. But, and so death is nothing to be afraid of. Death is actually a very beautiful experience, and it's just opening the stargate so you go to another life focus, another reality. And you don't have to buy into my belief system, but I've been there. I know, at least for me, it's true. But there is a lot of scientific research to show that the pineal gland just opens up the floodgates with DMT at the moment of death, so that everyone has this experience. And they're kind of, it kind of eases you into the next phase. So yeah, that's about DMT. Now, what are some of the other things it releases? It releases a beautiful, perfect cocktail when you're in alignment, when you're doing this work consciously, of hormones and chemicals that flood the body. Always, whatever your feeling state is and your activity state, it will produce more of what you need to keep that state going. So let me say that in a different way. If you have had a very bad day and people have been coming at you all day long with all kinds of, anger and just stuff. You're just irritated. You're mad. You're angry by now. You're frazzled. The pineal gland sends to the body more of those fight or flight hormones and chemicals to reflect that state, because the body is the outward expression of what the mind is experiencing. Okay. So you're going to have probably tons of adrenaline pumping through your body all day long if you're having that bad day. The side or the end product that is a very harmful hormone called cortisol, which if it builds up in your body, it can do all kinds of things. But adrenaline, which is really hard to get out of your bloodstream quickly, other hormones and chemicals that keep you in a state of hyper awareness so that you can run away from, get away from, or fight the danger that is in your area, right, in your life. So that is why it is important to do these practices, especially when you're having a bad day, because you want to flip the switch and tell the inner pharmacy to create something that is more reflective of the state you want to be in, right? You want to be in a state of peace, of happiness, of vibrancy, of balance. The only way you can flip the switch is to get into the feeling state. And the easiest way to get into the feeling state is with some of these practices. And it, like I said, at first it can be very clunky, it can be very difficult, because it's like learning how to ride a bike. You know, you fall over sometimes, but eventually you're going to get it if you keep up with it. And I'm telling you, the rewards are greater than anything you could imagine. I'm looking at the people who are on this right now, and all of you, I know, are experienced at having a depth of being already. You've all had at least a taste. What we want to do is remember that feeling state and amplify it and harness it and call on it at will and have it be our servant. Okay, so that's what this is going to do. So conversely, if you're having a really wonderful experience, let's say you're 3 weeks into finding your true love, okay? Or you just won the lottery. Billions of dollars are coming in. Well, think of the feeling state you're in. Wow, you're excited. You feel like you can take on the world. You feel like superhuman, right? Well, when you get into that feeling state, just by having the thought, just by thinking about it, you don't even have to remember it if you've been there before. Just imagine it. Imagine what it would be like. Instantly, your inner pharmacist starts to create the chemicals that reflect that feeling state. They cascade through the body. The body is then supported to live that reality. And you're also transmitting energetically the feeling state out. So you're not just creating physical chemicals, you are creating energetic waves, if you will, and transmitting them out into your environment saying, I'm super powered, I'm superhuman, I'm having a wonderful day. And pretty soon, because nature reflects back what you're feeling, your world starts to kind of fall in place and reflect that. You might not only win the lottery that day, but if you keep that feeling state going, you know, you're going to get a letter from a long lost friend that you've missed and you couldn't find, or, you know, that business deal that you have been waiting to close, it just magically closes that day with no ease and grace. So that's how this works. You can literally change your life, your body, and your world if you practice with intensity and focus and, you know, I hate to say it, but duration. You have to put in the time. It gets easier and easier, though, I promise. Okay, so any questions so far? I don't want to go too far into this because I've covered a lot already. That's the technical stuff. And some of you already know it, probably bored to death, but some of you may need to have heard this. Questions, comments? You good? Okay. So, yes, Ron, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was one of those that was not part of the previous class. So are you going to go into some of the exercises and different things that and revisit those for us?
Yes, and that's where we're going as soon as we leave this discussion. We're going to do some exercises, but we're going to do it in an abbreviated fashion. We're not going to do it real time, which, when you first start, it might take 20 or 30 minutes to do, or even longer if you get really enticed to do it. But we're going to do one of each thing for about a minute, just so you can get the practice down and get maybe a little taste of the treat. And then we're going to do some exercises to see if they helped us get into that state, which will be fun. So yes, we are going to review that.
Okay, thanks, Debs. Appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Yes, Rhonda. There you go.
I was reviewing, because I wasn't in the previous sessions, but I reviewed the exercises and things. And, like everybody here, you mentioned, has experiences and things and getting to these states. In my former practices, the ideal was to lock down and not move the body and just move the energy. How do I overcome that? Because I keep finding myself reverting to my old practices. Do you have any hints to just be conscious without letting that mind take over?
Well, no, you're going to have thank you for the question. It's really good. Everyone has an inner dialogue always, whether you're conscious of it or not. You have what some cartoonists used to place the angel on one shoulder and the devil on another. Well, there isn't really good or bad. There's just differences, right? They're just contrasts. So you have spent decades with a practice that says you have to be absolutely still, if I understand you correctly, to get there. And some of these practices we're actually going to move a little bit or maybe a lot. In these primary practices, we're not moving a lot, but we are moving the breath, the parts of the body with the breath a little bit. So again, just come in as an empty cup and know that you're not going against your own personal practice that has served you so well all these years. You're just adding another tool to your tool belt. Again, and you get to choose which one is more preferential to you. My bet is, because of your practices, all of these long-term practices that you've been doing, your pineal gland is in pretty good shape and it works really well. I know it does because I've been with you when you're having these experiences. So maybe these practices aren't exactly for you, but there may be a day when you think, wow, I think I'm going to try this and see what happens. You may get a treat. You just don't know. But know that there are, as they say, many paths up the mountain. We all make it up the mountain eventually. You just need to choose which path. And sometimes you divert and go on another path and check it out. You don't have to dump all of your previous learning and practices for this. But, because we are kind of in the dojo, I like to quote famous martial arts teachers. Bruce Lee is like one of my favorites. And, he got really, he didn't just get chastised and outed from his regular community back in China, where he first learned all of the martial arts that he learned in a very private school. It was something that wasn't to be shared. And you certainly did not share that with white people. It was against the rules. You had to share only with the people in your dojo, for instance, or whatever they called it, their monastery. But he came to America. He wanted to learn more things and have more experiences. And he soon realized, oh my gosh, these people over here are so backward. They really need to learn these things. They could be helped by this. And he went against his promises to his teacher and began to teach other people. Well, he not only got ousted from his lineage, but they actually put hits out on him for his life. They did not want this to get out to the public, and they tried to kill him. But I digress. It made him so angry that that happened. It woke him up to a bigger reality. Oh my gosh, why are we hiding this information from the world when the world really needs it? The world would be better if we taught these concepts. And maybe they didn't know everything. So he started practicing and learning from many other martial arts lineages and philosophies and religions and all kinds of things. He became a student of the world, and he spent all of his waking hours studying and training. And when he finally started something, he didn't want to call it anything. He just said, here's a compilation of all the stuff I know. I want to share it. And people wanted a name. So they called it Kung Fu. And Kung Fu is actually, or not Kung Fu, Jeet Kune Do, excuse me. Kung Fu was his major art. Jeet Kune Do, it means the way, or it's a variation of the way, but it's an all-encompassing way. He wanted to present something that was more comprehensive than just one lineage would teach. So his saying was, study from as many masters as you can, as many styles as you can, as many areas of learning that you can. And maybe you will just get one little piece of information from studying with somebody 10 years. But that's a tool, and you put it in your tool belt, and you might carry that around for another 30 years. But you may find yourself in a situation where that one tool is the perfect tool for you, and you can take it out and use it, and you'll be so glad you carried it around all that time. Okay? It's like the Swiss Army knife of belief systems and practices. So that's what I'm saying to you. Learn these tools, practice them, stay with them for a while. Don't dump your other practices. Just see how it might be integrated maybe into your own practice, or maybe it's not for you. Go back to your old practice, but you still had some experiences in the greater community. Okay.
And the thing that I want to confirm that I understood from the previous sessions replays was that what you're looking at is the energy riding on the breath, and you're utilizing the body to, I think at one point you said it grabs all the little molecules and then it takes them through. So it's kind of the energy riding on the breath is kind of where the focus
It is.
and the body is the pump that moves it.
Yeah, the body is useful because at least in these 2 months of classes, we're talking about actually physically giving a little squeeze to the pineal gland so that it will give us that hormonal cocktail, that chemical cocktail that will help open up. I call it ringing the cosmic doorbell. When we use the body, when we engage what the yogis call the bandhas, the locks, you squeeze your pelvic floor up, you pull your navel to your spine, you pull your rib cage in, you get very straight in the spine, and you tuck your chin. You don't do this, but you just kind of tuck your chin back. Sometimes even put the tip of the tongue to the roof of the mouth, and you focus up here to the top of the brain in the center where that little tiny pine cone is. What happens is you are squeezing the body and creating a pressure where the cerebral spinal fluid goes up through the center of the spine and hits that pineal gland, and there's pressure. It's like water pressure, and it squeezes it. And I was getting ready to talk about the construction of the gland, but we'll do it now. That gland it's like a little tiny island. It's the only gland that is not protected by a harder surface in the body. It literally has an open channel from the spine. And if you looked at that picture, and I might show it again in a little bit, but it's almost like it's floating in a little sea of fluid there. When you engage the bandhas, the locks, the pelvic lock, the navel lock, the solar plexus lock, the throat lock, and you really squeeze the body, once you've done this breath work, take a deep breath in, you squeeze the body, it pushes that fluid up, just like you're squeezing a hose. And it's like a hand, it's like the water, this fluid that is surrounding that gland presses on all these little rhomboidal shaped, very precisely created crystals. The pineal gland has all these little rhomboid shaped crystals within it. And when it gets pressurized, just like a radio or a computer or anything else that has crystal chips in it, those crystals start to vibrate. They create a friction and they start to vibrate, and they literally tune into frequency. And the frequency they first tune into is the higher brainwave state of alpha. And if you hold the hold or even a few seconds longer, you'll get into theta, and you will open up that stargate, and then the information starts flowing in.
Yeah, and what I want to kind of clarify just a bit is when I said we would tighten down, that's exactly what you just described. The pelvic floor, the navel, and you hold it. You inhale, tighten down, and then move the energy and exhale. So, and what you just described was the science behind it. So I really appreciate that, because the experiences do follow, and you just gave the scientific explanation as to why all this.
Thanks. And I hate to repeat it, but I know some people know this already, but thank you. It's a perfect question, because it's important that you understand the mechanics of this. We live in a physical, or we're focused on our physical universe here, the third dimension right now. You and I, we're all talking or listening. We're in the third dimension. Our physical bodies, our ears are hearing, our eyes are seeing. We might be conscious of our breath. We are having some thoughts around this so that we can formulate it all. But basically, to work in the physical dimension and allow us to open ourselves to these other frequencies, these other dimensional realities that are limitless, that we have access to, that's the way, at least that we know now, to be able to do it. I'm sure there are easier ways, but we are baby students, and this is the way that it's been taught for millions of years, as far as I know. So yeah, that's it. You create a pressure. It's actually a mechanical thing. Those of you who know anything about radio technology or computers or anything, you know the fundamental science of that is based in the crystal chip. Okay, so yes, you have crystals in your head. You have them in your inner ear, by the way. That's what helps you maintain your physical balance. If a crystal gets out of place, and it happens, there are techniques that, and we have a doctor on here who could probably tell you this, there are techniques to be able to manipulate the way the head is moving and the way you use your breath to get that crystal back in the right place so that you come back into balance. So we have crystals inside our bodies. Okay. So thank you for the question. Anybody else? Does everybody understand so far? Nod yes. Thank you. Thumbs up. Good. Okay. So let's get into I'd just like to hear from a couple of you why you would like to have this access. What does it mean to you? Anybody? Why would you like to have access to this? What would you use it for? These visionary states or this information. Christina?
Self-healing and manifesting a more fulfilling and purposeful life.
Thank you. And it's very easy. Well, I don't say easy, but it is absolutely accessible to you through this method. It's been my experience anyway. Thank you. Anybody else? Andy?
Yes. Channeling the star people, I really think I'm at the moment now. It's been building up to this for a long time, but particularly this year, where I really want to sort of, well, I think I'm channeling anyway, but in a more conscious way. So I want to use these techniques to open myself up to guides guardian angels and star people and all sorts of beings of light to become part of the wider community, and also to be a more planetary service.
And yes, that's why we're doing this. Basically, I had this desire to get information out to people about how I do what I do. Because I have people also ask me all the time, how can I learn how to do what you do? How can I learn to have telepathy? How can I learn to channel? How can I learn to manipulate energy to help someone else's healing? This is exactly what I do. And I've learned over decades and decades and decades, and I dare say lifetimes, that this is kind of a faster track than just wishing to make it so or affirming to make it so. You can get there, but it just takes a long time. Okay. So thank you. Jennifer Lawler, did you want to ask a question?
No, I wasn't going to ask a question, but I did want to say I'm a little more selfish than everyone else, but I'm interested in this because of the creative aspects. It really inspires me creatively to have this sort of access to non-verbal information.
Thanks. Yeah, and it absolutely can help. It's a beautiful statement for artists, for makers, for musicians, for writers, for anyone who has goals in their life. We all want to be more creative, right? We want to have inspiration. This is a great way to do it. By the way, the word inspiration literally is, if you break it down from the Latin, it means to breathe in. Inspire, to breathe in. So that's why we use the breath in this function. Rhonda, did you have another question or a statement? Or was that Ron? Sorry, Ron, you had?
Yeah, Debs. So for myself, I guess, and I don't know, I've gone through like a whole number of lifetimes in this lifetime. But I think for me, just to get more, I guess, in touch with, for lack of a better term, the supernatural, if you will. I don't see myself in, it's amazing, and you hear other people and their experiences and different things like that, and it's not so much like envy or anything of that nature. It's just that, gee, it would really be nice. It'd really be nice to be a little more in tune, So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't you want to access your birthright, which is you do have access to all this stuff. Most of us just don't remember that we do. We came into this very roughly hewn, very rigidly constructed science lab, if you will, as beings to have different experiences, learn different things. And because it's physical, everything is very slowed down. Everything's made of energy, and all energy is connected and it never dies. It just changes form and vibration. Well, we slowed it all down and kind of distilled it down to this little physical dimension, this little science lab, to see what we could do with all this slow, clunky energy that has a dualistic nature. I've been told many times by these beings, and which I think are higher levels of ourselves, that most of the cosmos, most of creation does not live this way. This is just this very particular little place that we created to have some science experiments, and most of us are just done with it. We've gleaned everything we're going to glean, but to come into this and have a valid experience as scientists in this little lab, we had to veil ourselves, cloak ourselves, blind ourselves, and deafen ourselves to the fact that we do have what you would call supernatural powers. They're not. There are regular sensory system as cosmic beings, but if you knew all the answers to the test, it wouldn't be a test, right? And you wanted to test yourself, basically, is what I've been told. So,
Yeah.
but now we're about finished with it. we're about to collapse that back into the singularity and move back out into greater vistas of experience and existence. And this is a way for us to connect back to that, eventually pull ourselves up out of the ceiling of the science lab and escape.
Yeah, it's one thing to have knowledge and to learn. It's another thing to be able to apply that and to be able to channel that, so.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's a great task, but anything worth doing is worth doing well and spending time with and having patience with. So that's where we are with this. Okay, so is everybody good? You want to go through a little quick session of some of the practices that we're going to be using, and then we'll do a couple of fun exercises together to see if you kind of ring your cosmic doorbell. You ready for that? Does anybody need a comfort break before we get started? Christina, it looks like she may have left the room for a second. So what we're going to do are some breath practices, what the yogis call pranayams, okay? If there's anyone here who has high blood pressure, this first one, I definitely want you to go easy. Don't get super powerful. It doesn't matter how powerfully or fast you do this breath, this first breath that we're going to do. It matters that you're just focusing on how the breath works, okay, and the body. But it does require that you're breathing through the nose pretty intensely. So if you have a stuffy nose or, a little something going on up there, I really highly recommend that you, blow your nose. So get some Kleenex, blow your nose, and we'll come back to it. We'll come back to the practice here in just a second. I just want to make sure everybody's here. Okay. All right. One of the practices I learned, by the way, while I'm waiting for everybody to come back, is that to help with that, if you have a lot of nasal congestion, especially here in Northern Hemisphere, it's wintertime, people get colds and, all kinds of other manner of things. One good way to keep the nasal passages and the sinuses clear and free of bacteria and viruses is to use a neti pot. There's that word again, neti. I don't know if any of you know how to use one, but it's a little pot, and I will put that in my notes to put into our group on where to get one and how to use it. But a neti pot, it just looks like kind of a little Aladdin's lamp, if you will. It's a little tiny pot. I don't have one right here, but you put a little half teaspoon of non-iodized sea salt in it with some warm water, not hot, but room temperature or body temperature water, stir it around, dissolve it. And then you literally here's what it kind of looks like. You put it in one nostril, over the sink, you turn your head a little and you breathe through your mouth and you let the saline solution go through your sinuses. It comes out this one. And sometimes you might get some stuff come out right then, but once the pot is empty, you blow your nose forcefully a couple of times, and then you do the same for the other side, okay? And that will clear the sinuses. It also changes the pH of the mucous membranes inside of the nasal passages, and it keeps that area more in a pH level where viruses and bacteria cannot exist well. So right now with a pandemic going on, and now it's also, cold flu season and everything, I highly recommend getting into a practice of using the neti pot once a day. And especially after you've come home from being out in the public, okay? Different yogic lineages say use it once a month in the summer and once a week in the winter or whatever. I've always used mine every day, and it really does help. But it also really helps clear the mind because there are energetic aspects to everything we do, right? Not just physical. The energetic aspect is it helps to balance the left and right sides of the brain, of the body, and of your male, female aspects in the body, your yin yang. Okay, so neti pot, very good thing. But since we don't have a neti pot here with us, if you need to blow your nose, blow it, and then we'll get started with the first practice. Okay, so usually when I start my practice, I sit comfortably, I get my spine erect. I will use, because I want to get rid of as much outside light as possible. Remember what I said about the pineal gland and the melatonin and the DNT being very connected to light source. So that represses that function. So I put on a little eye mask. You don't have to have one. You can just, tie a blindfold, or you just close your eyes if you like. It's not that big a deal, but I use it. It's very helpful. For years and years and years, I also used earplugs in my ears to drown out the sounds around me. I don't do that anymore because I was using them so often that I was inhibiting the microbial balance in my inner ear. So I had to stop that. But you can also use something, I don't know if I have them here. If you really do want to drown out sound, if you live like in a very busy city or something, or you live in a house with lots of loud people, you can get some noise canceling ear covers like hunters use, people who shoot rifles, put them on. When I have these on, I literally hear nothing but my inner environment. So you can do that, experiment with it. But the first thing I do once I sit and get myself comfortable is I bring my mind's attention to the fact that we're getting ready to practice. And what I learned from one of my best teachers was to take a deep breath in once you're comfortable and then exhale twice like this. You just say ha, ha. So you take a deep breath in and then you turn your head forward again and breathe in again and bring that, just the breath, just visualize it coming all the way up and through your body. And that's your signal that you're going to start the practice. Just like when you step into a dojo, for those of you who are martial arts people, usually you would step into a dojo, and to signify that you're ready to practice and to show respect to your teacher, you bow. Okay, so think of the double ha as your bow, and that's your entryway into your practice, into the dojo. Okay, so breathe in. And then what I do is I sit with a simple mantra. You don't have to do this, but it helps to kind of calm me down, kind of close out the world. And that mantra is Hung Sa. Hung Sa. You don't say this one out loud. You breathe in Hung for as long as you're breathing in. And you breathe out Sa for as long as you're breathing out. So if I'm breathing in, I'm going to breathe in as long as I hear my breath, feel my breath coming in. Hung. And then as I exhale, I'm going to breathe out only internally the verb or the word Sa. So it's like, sounds like this in your internal universe once you close your eyes. Hung. Sa. Hung. Sa. And you're not manipulating the breath, you're just saying Hung for as long as you notice you're breathing in, and you say Sa for as long as you're breathing out. And again, you're not verbalizing, it's internal. And you do that for a little while. Hung Sa means I am spirit, or I am that, with a capital THAT. Again, we're signaling ourselves, our conscious awareness, that we are connecting with something that is bigger than our regular everyday 3D life. We're connecting with our ultra self, if you like, your higher self, source, whatever. So we do the double ha, and then we breathe Hong Sa for a few moments. Okay. And then the next thing we do seems counterintuitive. It's almost too much. It's breath of fire. And breath of fire, and I think I misrepresented this in the first class, but I'm going to tell you the way I do it, the way I was taught. I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way, but I think of breath of fire like when I'm inhaling, I let my belly puff way out. I inhale and my body blows up like a balloon. And then as I exhale, forcefully, the balloon collapses. And you do this through the nose. So I'm going to show you what it looks like. You can't see my belly, but put your fingers, if you will, take your hands and just place them lightly on your belly. And just do this with me for a second. And we'll go through the whole sequence together in just a minute, but I want to give you the pieces first. So put your fingertips on your belly and breathe in deeply and relax your belly and let your belly just expand. And then as you exhale forcefully through the nose, pull it in. Okay, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. So you inhale, the belly expands like a balloon. Exhale, it collapses like you're letting all the air out there. You're punching that balloon so all the air goes out. So breath of fire, some people will do it fast, some people will do it slow. If you get dizzy or a headache or you just don't feel right, stop and just breathe normally till we're finished. We're only going to do these things for 1 minute at a time today, just to give you a foundation of how you do it. You build up over time to 1 to 3 minutes for each thing. So we're going to do the double ha, hong sa, and then we're going to do breath of fire, which I want to show you what it looks like in real time. It looks like this. Okay, you can't see my belly. I'm sorry, I'm too close to the computer. I don't know if I can get back here without you being able to see. Let's see if I can stand back here. Okay, yeah, I can. Okay, so here's what it looks like. I'm going to put my fingertips here so you can see. Okay, so that's what it kind of looks like. That's what it kind of sounds like. But what you're going to do when we do our practice today together is we're going to play a little bit of music that has a kind of a beat, just to kind of get you excited, because you want to have this sense of awakening when you do breath of fire. Okay, it's also a warming breath. So if you do this first thing in the morning and you're cold, it'll warm you up. Or anytime you're cold, if you're out walking or something, do breath of fire for a while. But so we're going to do the double ha, hong sa, breath of fire. And after breath of fire is when we do that first hold and pressure technique, engaging the bandhas. We pull all that energy up and hold it, our attention up here. Some people like to actually put their fingernail up to like the center of their head and kind of press in with, and we're doing all this with our eyes closed, by the way, so that when you pull all that energy up and you engage the pelvic floor, the navel, the rib cage, the throat, and you feel that pressure going up, it literally will direct it. Remember, where your focus is where your energy flows. Where your perspective goes, your energy flows. So you can do that at first if you're not used to where to send it. It's a good little thing, but over time you won't need to put your hand up there. So we'll do that, and I'll coach you to hold the breath as long as you can. And then you're going to release it easily and just keep the eyes closed and relax. And you can do this with your eye gazing up here to this point, the Ajna chakra. It's got a misnomer of the third eye. The pineal gland is really the third eye. This is the lens from which you look out into your world with it. So you're going to keep your eyes closed. Everything's relaxed except for the belly pumping and the breath breathing. Your eye gaze is going to be up here. And if it's not too uncomfortable, keep your eyes looking up and just look behind your closed eyelids. And you might just see black. You might see gray or light blue, but you might also start to see or sense a pulsing You might see colors, you might see little spots of light, you might just see kind of different, slightly different waves of the same color of black or gray or whatever moving, but just hang with it and hang with it until I cue you to kind of come back. Okay, and we'll open our eyes softly, and then we'll go directly into the next phase, which is to take your hand like this, and we're going to breathe alternate nostril breathing. We'll breathe in through one nostril, left nostril, staying relaxed with eyes closed. Then you're going to close it off, breathe out through the right, breathe in through the right, breathe out through the left. And that's one round. We're going to do several rounds. And this does balance the left and right hemispheres of the brain, the analytical and creative side of the being, the yin yang, the male, female, all of that. More advanced people, if you're used to using 2 or 3 fingers up here and then closing off the nostrils, it's just harder for me to show you here. I may turn sideways. Breathe in through the left. Breathe out through the right. I usually use 2 fingers. Breathe in through the right. Breathe out through the left. Okay, and that's one round of alternate nostril breathing. So we'll do that for a little bit, and then we'll do the squeeze and hold again. Take a nice big inhale at the end. We'll squeeze everything, hold it, hold it, hold it, eye gaze up. And then when you can't hold it anymore, you're going to exhale, breathe normally, keep the eyes closed, and just relax and notice if you see anything back here. If you don't see anything, maybe you aren't a visual person. My own guru is not a visual person. He does not see colors or lights or anything, but he has feelings. He gets feelings, or he gets auditory information, or he just has a sense of knowing. So be very open to what you get. Don't listen to what I'm saying I experience. Let yourself have your own experience. Okay. So after that, the next thing we'll do is, and it'll be the last thing, is the sipping breath. And the sipping breath, you make a little O shape with your mouth like you're going to sip through a straw. Okay. And you're going to audibly breathe in through a loud whisper your breath like this. And you keep the O shape, but as you exhale, the breath comes out on its own, so you barely hear it. You breathe in again. Exhale. Okay, so what you notice, and again, your eye gaze can be up at the third eye point or the ajna or brow chakra, but as you breathe in, you might notice the air is very cool and it fills you up. And as you breathe out, let the breath just kind of exit on its own. It's very warm and you relax deeper. It brings a very deep sense of focus. And then we'll do the hold and squeeze one last time, and then we'll sit. And we'll sit for a little bit longer and notice what we know. Okay. And once we do that, then I'm going to take you directly into a couple of exercises just to see how you do. Because ultimately what we want to accomplish here is not just having incredible experiences while we're sitting in meditation with our eyes closed. We want to be able to do this with our eyes open, walking around in our life all day long. We want to have access to quantum consciousness, to the great, all that is, the higher mind, the source of all things, while we are walking around in our world. Because who wouldn't want to have access to all of that, to the great library, what some people would call the Akashic record. Okay, so we're going to do our exercises right after that. And we're going to take a tiny comfort break, and then we're going to go into the guided journey that's going to help us program ourselves to remember all this, to feel good about it, and to stay motivated to continue to use it And we're going to meet a version of ourselves that has already done that, who's a great master of it. We're going to merge with that version of ourselves so that we literally are downloaded with some of the more esoteric or deeper level tools and techniques that we need, or just a little bit of reinforcement. And then we'll come back here and we'll do it again really quickly. And then we'll go into the exercises. If we run out of time, we won't do this, the set of exercises or the practice a second time today. We'll just go directly back into our exercises, our little fun games, and see what happens. Okay, everybody good? Okay, so let's start the practice. And I highly recommend just turning your video off or putting an eye mask on or closing, let's everyone close our eyes. Get in a nice upright position where your spine is long and strong. Think of the spine as the lower part of your cosmic antenna, okay? What happens when you lie down in bed? You're signaling yourself usually to go to sleep or at least rest, right? Which is good. But when you lie down in bed and try to do this practice, you're fighting with the other part of your mind that says, oh, you told me when I lie down in bed, it's time to go to sleep. So we want to sit up, okay? All right, so we're going to begin. So everybody take a nice deep breath in, 2 ha exhales when you turn your head to the left. So deep breath in, turn your head forward, take a nice deep breath in. Close the eyes if they're not closed and relax. And now we're going to take a breath or two, and we're going to, or well, for a moment, a minute, we're going to breathe. We are going to breathe in the mantra Hung Sa. And what I'm going to do is play a little tune here that's going to help you get, or maybe I won't. I guess I won't. I've lost it. I was going to play a little tune to help you get there, but let's just use the quiet. So we've turned our head, we've signaled ourselves it's time to practice. And then remember, you're just going to breathe in Hung as long as you watch your breath come in, and Sa as you breathe out. So let's just do that for a minute at your own pace. And then everyone stop with Hong Sa. Just notice how your mind is. Ask it to stay quiet. And then we'll begin breath of fire. Remember, as you inhale through the nose, you're going to push your belly out. As you exhale, you're going to pull it in. And you're going to do this all through the nose. If this gets too rigorous for you, slow it down, go at your own pace. I am going to just play a little music, but you don't have to keep pace with the music. I just don't want you to hear me breathing. I want you to get in your own breath pattern. So here's the music and breath of fire. Here we go. All right, everybody take a deep breath in, eyes closed, eye gaze up. As deep a breath as you can, and then engage all those bandhas, those locks. Pelvic floor squeezes up, belly squeezes in, rib cage squeezes in, throat squeezes. Let your attention go to the top of your head. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. See that energy going up. See it ringing the cosmic doorbell, vibrating those crystals. Hold as much as you can. Hold as much as you can. And relax, eyes closed, relax. Breathe normally. Just experience whatever you experience, even if it's just a fluttering heart for a moment. What do you see behind your eyelids, or what do you hear? Stay silent. Nice and quiet. And then take a few moments. Just breathe normally. Now, if you have your eye mask on and you're using your fingers at the third eye point to go into alternate nostril breathing, I usually just push my eye mask up a little bit. You don't have to put those fingers there. Remember, you can just use your thumb and pinky finger to close the nostrils off, but keep your eyes closed, eye gaze up. Take your right thumb and close off your right nostril and breathe in deeply through the left nostril. Close that off with your pinky finger, open the right nostril, breathe out slow and long. Inhale right. Close it off, exhale left. Inhale left. Close it, exhale right. Inhale right. Close it, exhale left. Inhale left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Exhale right. Now go on your own for a moment. If you get lost, stop and start over again. No big deal. Now complete what cycle you're in, and then keep eyes closed, relaxed, and breathe normally. Staying relaxed with eyes closed, take a deep breath in and then pull all those locks closed. Squeeze the pelvic floor, squeeze the belly, squeeze the rib cage, squeeze the throat. Push, 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 push all that air, that energy up to the top of the head. Hold it as much as you can. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. And exhale, eyes closed, eye gaze up, relax. Notice what you notice. Be okay if you don't notice anything yet. Breathe normally. Staying relaxed and with the eyes closed. We'll begin with the sipping breath. Remember, make the O shape with your mouth and breathe in audibly. Breathing in, pulling all the air in. And then exhale, keep the O shape, but don't force it out. Just be very quiet. Breathe in. Breathe out. And now continue on your own. I'm going to turn my audio off so you don't get called into my breath phase. Go into your own. All right. And now take a deep, deep breath in, eyes closed, eye gaze up, and one last time, squeeze, 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 squeeze. Employ all those locks. Squeeze. Eye gaze up. Squeeze as hard as you can. Squeeze, hold, hold, hold. Hold as much as you possibly can. And exhale, relax. Eyes closed. Again, meditate. Notice. All right. And then as you're ready, you can slowly uncover and open your eyes, wiggle your fingers and toes, but try to stay in that very relaxed and peaceful state. And then if you wish to take a comfort break, use the restroom or get a sip of water or anything, allow yourselves, let's just take minutes. I have 12:43 p.m. my time. So 3 minutes, come back. If you have to take longer, we'll wait for you, but let's hurry through our break so that we can get on to the guided. We're going to get into the exercise guided. Okay. So 3 minutes, come back at 12:46 or 10:46 if you're on the West Coast, 1:46. And Andy, I don't know how to convert it right now for you, my dear, but 3 minutes. See you in a moment.
No problem. 3 minutes.
All right, everyone. Come back as quickly as you can. And those of you who are on camera, turn your cameras back on so I can see your back. Those of you who prefer to be off camera or who are just calling in on your phones, I just realized I'm going to have to describe some of the things that we're going to be looking at, but I apologize. That's just how it is, but it'll still work. Okay, so once you're back, let me know you're back by just waving your hand, or if you're off of, if you're off camera, I guess, raise your hand real quick or unmute yourself and say I'm back so I know everyone's back. Okay, great. I'll give the others just a moment. Okay, Jennifer's back. Thank you, Jennifer. Okay. Andy's back. Erica's back. Thank you, Erica. Guess we're just waiting on Rhonda. Oh, Rhonda's back too. Okay. So the first exercise is really simple. Okay. I want you to allow yourself to be very open. Don't judge or analyze anything. That's the main concept to this practice, by the way. If you start analyzing and judging and going, am I seeing this, or am I, you start going, am I really doing this, or did I get that, or is that wishful thinking? You pop yourself back into the left side of the brain, which cuts off the right side's ability to link you up with the greater mind. Okay. Right side of the brain is creative, intuitive, nurturing, all the gushy stuff. It's the feminine energy. The left side of the brain is the analytical, the organizational, the judgmental, if you will. It wants to put everything in its place and label things. Don't try too hard. Okay. The harder you try, the more you pop yourself in the left brain. So the key here is to have fun. Okay. So what we're going to do is the very first exercise. You may want to write this down on a piece of paper or just remember it. It doesn't matter. It's only one little thing, but I do want you to, we'll unmute and talk for a second after this. So without any forethought or analysis, very quickly, I want you, now that you're kind of linked in, I want you to tell me the number that I'm thinking of between 1 and 5. Real quick. Okay. Everybody got it? Okay. So unmute yourselves and tell me what you got.
I got 3.
Okay.
3. I
Okay.
got 3.
Okay.
Same, 3.
3.
Did it?
4.
I got 4.
Okay.
4.
Okay. So a few people got 3, a few people got 4. The number was 3. Don't feel bad. Get 3. We only did a minute each of those practices, but you're already getting in there. Okay. How fun is that? So real quick again, without any forethought or analysis, I'm thinking of the number between 1 and 10. What's your number?
7.
Okay.
7.
8.
Okay.
7.
9.
5.
6.
Okay. All right. The number was 7 this time. Some of you got it, some of you didn't. It's because the variables were a little bit greater. I gave you a greater context to contact to, okay, make connection with. So don't feel bad if you didn't get 7. If you got really close to 7, you're tuning in your inner radio. Okay. If you're way off, doesn't matter. It's just a little exercise. It's just a little quickie thing. You might be like kind of not connecting yet very well just because there's so much to take in. You're already trying to analyze the stuff that we talked about before. Okay. So the next exercise is, let's see, share my screen. And we are going to go, can everybody see this picture of some gemstones? Anybody see that? No. Let's see.
the picture.
Okay.
No.
Let me see if I can get it.
There we go.
There we are. Okay.
Okay.
There.
So
Yeah.
for those of you who are on phone audio only, I'm showing an emerald, a ruby, a sapphire, and a diamond. So green, red, blue, and clear. which of the precious gems am I thinking of right now? Without thought, just
Blue.
Blue, yeah, sapphire was
Sapphire.
sapphire.
Emerald.
Sapphire.
Blue.
anybody get something other than blue? Honest.
Emerald.
Okay.
Yeah, I got emerald too.
Okay, cool. So the gem I was looking at and focusing on was the sapphire, the blue one. For those of you who got emerald, super close. Think of where blue and green are. You have to have blue to make green, right? Yellow make green. Very close on the field. So you're starting to tune in better and better and better. Excellent. We'll try one more little cute thing. Everybody see that picture of animals?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
Well, for those of you who can't see it, there is a lion, a male lion, an otter, kind of relaxed otter, a golden retriever dog, and a beaver. Okay, which one of these am I focusing on? Lion, otter, golden retriever dog, beaver.
I say lion.
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 Okay. So I was focusing on otter. That was a little bit harder because we're now working on what we would call a sentient being. Okay. When you're thinking of numbers or words, those are a little bit easier to grasp. They're just kind of floating around there. When you're thinking of colors, especially colors of something that is solid like crystal or a gem, it's a little bit harder to grasp, but you can still tune in on it because color is still very accessible to the visual cortex. And then there's usually you're starting to associate feeling, touch with that. When you get into living sentient beings, like I could have done plants, animals, you know, people, it gets a little harder and harder to, because there's a wider group of information coming in.
You
So I
know,
don't, yes, go ahead.
yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry to interrupt.
No
But
problem.
you know, it's interesting this time, Debs, is that we didn't. I don't know if anybody else did, but I didn't see the visual on these, and so that was it was kind of interesting because I think that in that sense, what that's telling me is it gives me a focus point, if you will, to actually see the pictures on that.
Mhm.
So.
Cool. And there is, thank you for bringing that up, Ron, because there is, you know, there is all of us have all of these abilities, but some of us are more attracted to or able to use the different, what we call clairs, right? So you may not be so much clairvoyant where you see things. You may be clairsentient. You just know it. You feel it, right? Rhonda may be clairaudient. She may hear the word come in, or she may hear, for instance, the animal make its animal sound, and she'll be like, "Oh, it was an otter." You know, so we didn't do anything with smell, but there's clairolfaction. You might smell something. If you sit in meditation, for instance, or maybe you've just been going around, you know, daydreamer or something, and all of a sudden you smell something like roses, that's information coming in, well, especially if you're in the house and there are no roses. That's information coming in. And we'll talk about that later, but in a later class. But yeah. Andy, you had a question?
Yeah, I just saw a note from Christina. She said that she thought giraffe as soon as you said the word animals, and I did as well. I instantly thought of giraffe. I don't know whether there's any connection there.
Well, because we had the very first animal that I spoke about and showed was a lion,
Oh, okay.
kind of subset of what we would call, wild kingdom animals that you would find in the Sahara, or not Sahara Desert, but in the, like Africa or whatever.
Yeah, Andy, I'd say that maybe you're sticking your neck out a little bit there.
Very good.
Sorry.
Very good. That's awesome. Very
As
good.
before.
So these were just a few little fun exercises I give to classes just because they're interesting. We might have even done them if we had more time. We would do them before we did any of the practice as a benchmark, and then we do them after the little bit of practice. Now we're going to go into, hang on, there's one more comment here. That was saw lion, or heard lion. What we're going to do now is we're going to get comfortable, and in a second I'm going to lead you on that guided journey that I promised you, that is going to help you kind of hone in a little deeper and absorb this. And you're going to meet one of your quantum twins, the one that's already a master at this, and they're going to merge with you and kind of help you. They're going to kind of give you a turbo boost on this practice, okay? And then we're going to come back, and if we have time, we will do those exercises, maybe at least a couple, one more time, okay? So if you want to, you can cover your eyes. Please mute yourselves. I want you to get super relaxed, okay? And we are going to go into the guided portion of this, the programming, if you will, portion of this. I do want to play some music for this because it's very helpful to be relaxed. And just, let yourself close your eyes down. We're going to, at least for the first few moments, keep our eye gaze up again. Why we do this, it brings a vibration to the vagus nerve in the body. It's one of the major nerves in the body, and it helps you to relax and become focused. And you can let your eye gaze drop whenever you like. Relax your eyes. Let your shoulders roll down your back. Sit up nice and tall. Just let yourself become sturdy and yet relaxed. Let your breath breathe you. Maybe smile for a moment to relax your jaws, your neck, throat. Let your chest relax, and your upper back. And with relaxed shoulders, let a sense of peace and relaxation flow down your arms. Flow down your belly. Flow down your back. With each breath you breathe, just notice more and more comfort and peace and relaxation coming in. And with each breath out, release any tension or anything that is counterproductive to feeling very, very peaceful. All right. And now to go a little more deeply, let's bring that peace, that relaxation, that comfort, that less gripping state down into the lower back, into the bottom, into the glutes, into your hips, into the lower belly. Relax, release, let go. If you notice a gripping somewhere, literally send your breath visually to that area. Like, let it look like a colored light or a feeling of warmth going there, and let it release. And let that beautiful warm feeling flow down and give relaxation to the upper thighs, to the area on the backs and the fronts of the thighs, around the knees and inside the knees, into the calves and the shins, into the ankles, the tops of the feet, the bottoms of the feet and the toes. Feel that warm energy flowing from the neck and the shoulders and the chest and the back down into the arms, into the elbows, into the wrists and the fingers. Hands are releasing and relaxing and letting go. As the body becomes relaxed, tell your mind to sit, to settle, to stay. And now we're going to use one of the most powerful tools at your disposal, your imagination. I want you to imagine yourself going deep into the center of your chest, into your heart. Go into your heart. And as you take your next big breath in, see all of the oxygen molecules going into the body through the capillaries in the nose and flowing down into the lungs, filling the lungs. And then as you exhale, see that oxygen, all those particles going up into the heart, the physical heart. And I want you there inside the heart to catch a ride on one of those oxygen molecules. It's going to be your little spacecraft, if you will. If you like visualizing, seeing yourself riding it like a horse on our journey, you can, or you can slip inside it like you're in a bubble of air. So allow yourself to connect with an oxygen molecule and then begin to journey up, up, up into the brain. And find yourself getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And as you do, coming up on this enormous structure called the pineal gland, shaped like a pine cone, floating there in its sea of cerebral spinal fluid. In your little spaceship of an oxygen molecule, feel yourself getting smaller and smaller and smaller with the pressure that is building up in that fluid up against the pineal gland island. And you begin to notice that just like a pine cone, that pineal gland has little overlapping structures like a pine cone does, like scales on a dragon or a snake or a fish. And in between each of those scales, there is an opening. You're doing very well. Relax 1,000% more deeply as you look at these scales and these openings on this gigantic pineal gland. And then, feeling very relaxed and buoyant, you let the pressure of the cerebral spinal fluid push you in your little oxygen spaceship into one of those cracks and you go deep inside the pineal gland. And what you see is a wonderful structure. And this structure is made up. It's made up of rhomboid-shaped crystals. And these crystals have a power. They have a vibration. These crystals are all vibrating with the pressure of the cerebral spinal fluid, and they start to make a sound. And you can feel it. The vibration gets higher and finer. And suddenly, you see yourself looking up, and there is an opening above you. And that opening, well, that opening is the stargate that allows you access to all that is. Anytime, any place. And so let's set our intention that we are going to travel on this frequency that is being created by the vibration of the crystals in the pineal gland out to what I like to call the infiniverse. All dimensions, all times, all places. And that your intention is going to be, you're going to connect with the quantum twin, that version of you that has already mastered activating the pineal gland in such a way that it will continue to be that cosmic antenna to help you access whatever you need whenever you need it. In this particular instance, it's going to take you right to that twin. And that twin is going to help you reinforce what we are learning today. So relax in that bubble of oxygen that is your little spaceship, and allow yourself now, when I count to 3, to be propelled into the infiniverse and instantly arriving at the place where this twin resides. So 1, 2, 3. Allow yourself to be propelled to the dimension, the frequency where your twin is. And now you've arrived. Good job. Wherever you've landed, let your oxygen bubble just settle over to the side and let yourself get your bearings. Look around. In your imagination, notice what you can notice. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? What does it sound like? Maybe even taste like here. Take a few moments to get your bearings. And notice if you notice anything here at all. If you don't, that's all right. You may be in a place that is not physically perceptive. And then take a moment and trust. Trust that whatever you're getting, however you're getting it, is the right information. What I want you to try to do right now is observe, notice, find your quantum twin. That version of you who has already mastered activating and utilizing this great tool, the pineal gland, the third eye. Remember that your twin may not look anything like you on this level. It may not even be humanoid. It may not even be physical. It might be an energy wave or a light beam or a color or a sound. But you'll know your twin when you see it. Find your twin now. And trusting that you have found your twin, even if you don't have any sensory evidence of it yet. Knowing that this twin loves you unconditionally and only wants to help you. Allow yourself to merge with this twin fully and receive. Receive any downloads, any upgrades, any healing, any technology, any techniques that you could use to help you with this practice. Merge with your twin now, however that feels right to you. It could be hugging that person if it's a person. It could be holding hands. It could be putting heart to heart, third eye to third eye. Perhaps you're dancing or swimming or flying with that twin. Maybe making love. Or maybe you're just being enveloped by the energy of your twin. However that works for you, allow it now. Stay merged with the twin in a state of receiving openly, gratefully. Do this now. Very good. And now it's time to come back into your own personal space and your twin to do the same, but stay very close. Unmerge. And once you are facing your twin again, however that feels or looks to you, take note that somehow that twin is going to tap you right in the middle of the forehead, right above your nose, just once. Tap. Feel it. That is your programming tool to remember everything you learned today. That is your programming tool that is going to help you connect with this energy state and with all of these beautiful resources that have been downloaded into you. So that each time you practice, you're going to get better and better and better at it. It's going to be easier and more fruitful, more exciting, more gorgeous, more peaceful. You've now been activated. Your pineal gland is now remembering what it is supposed to do for you, and your conscious awareness is now accepting that gift. And so now let's say thank you to our quantum twin without any forethought or analysis. Just reach into your own heart with the deepest state of unconditional love and gratitude and pull out a thank you gift for this twin. Take a look at it when you pull it out. Just take note of what it is. And then bowing in great thanks, give it to your twin. And know that they receive it with the deepest gratitude. It is a missing key for them in some part of their existence where they live. And it is very meaningful to them. And so it's time to bid each other goodbye for now, knowing that you can always come here by taking a few deep breaths and tapping your own forehead right above the nose in the middle of the brow, and relaxing with eyes closed and setting the intention to visit again. Say goodbye to your twin. Find your oxygen bubble. Step in or get on. I'm going to count you down from 3 to 1. When I hit 1, you're going to propel yourself back into the pineal gland of your physical body where we started. So get ready. 3, 2, 1. Back into that pineal gland. See the crystals now really vibrating, lit up, absolutely brilliant, working at full capacity. And you see the Stargate completely open, accessing all of the infiniverse. You can come here again and again and yet again, each time you practice, just by doing the simple things we learned today and accepting with humility and gratitude and great love that you can do this. You've always been able to do it, and now you're going to become the great master of it once again. And now allow your oxygen bubble to come back down into the heart. connect there for a moment with love for your twin, for the people in your life that you love, maybe the animals, the plants, the earth, the world, everything, and yourself. Feel love for yourself. And then feel yourself growing back into the size of your body. Begin to come back into this vibration, only maybe enhanced a little now. Feeling more balanced, more rejuvenated, more centered, calm, maybe more clear. Remember, you can use these techniques to bring yourself back to a state of balanced and sustained conscious self-awareness at any time. The more you do it, the faster it moves and the better it gets. Begin to feel your body, where you're sitting. Feel the gravitational embrace of Mother Earth holding you here close. Feel the structure of your bones and your tissues and your muscles, your organs, your glands, including the pineal gland, all working harmoniously and perfectly together now for the greatest, the highest, and the most harmonious good. And then as you like, begin to flicker your eyelids, stretch, yawn, wiggle your fingers and toes. Begin to come back. Open your eyes when you're ready. Awesome. Yeah, welcome back, everybody. So, before we do much of anything else, I want to go back into a couple of the exercises while you're still kind of there. You can unmute yourselves if you like. And again, don't think about it. Just let it come into your mind. And when I ask, you can say what you got. So this time, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 5. What's the number you get?
2.
2.
4.
Okay. All right. Great. I'm the number 2. So some of you may have even seen it in your mind's eye, the 2, right? Some may have just felt it was 2. If you didn't get the 2, don't worry. Remember, this is practice. Okay. So again, I'm going to give you a little bit more. Think of the alphabet. And I'm thinking of a letter in the alphabet right now. And just tell me what you're getting. Right. Anybody get a letter?
S as in Sam.
Okay. Anybody else?
G.
T.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, the letter was T.
Hey.
Well, Andy, you might be really tired. And remember, if you get super tired or you're distracted by anything, it's going to knock it a little bit. But don't worry about it. It was just an. Whoever said S, really close, right? Good. Good. Okay. I'm going to share screen again, and we'll look at the jewels. And those of you who don't have camera, I'll just describe them. There's a green emerald, a red ruby, a blue sapphire, and a white or clear diamond. Which one am I thinking of?
Ruby.
Emerald.
Diamond.
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 Excellent. So this time it was diamond. Just a fun exercise. Okay. And I'm not going to show a picture this time. I'm going to send a picture telepathically of shapes. The first shape is a triangle. The second shape is a square. Third shape is a circle. And the fourth shape is a star. Which shape am I concentrating on?
Square.
Where?
Circle.
Triangle.
Okay. Circle. It was circle. So Andy, you got it. If you didn't get circle, don't worry. These are just fun things to play with. When I post homework and other information in our group, on the Facebook group, and in the email that I'm going to send you with the recording, I'm going to send a link to a free app that you can use, or if you don't have a smartphone, you want to connect to it with your computer, you can. It was developed by one of my teachers, Russell Targ, who was one of the main people who developed and researched remote viewing. And you might have seen the documentary Third Eye Spies. He's that head guy. So he developed this little app that you can put on your phone. It's free, and it's a psychic trainer. I think it's called ESP trainer, because that's what he named it a billion years ago. But literally, you're just going to choose colors, little colored blocks, and it'll tell you if you're right or not. And it gives you an audio cue too, another treat, so that when you do get it right, you get a hit in here in the pineal gland, and it starts to hone itself more and more and more. So the more you train with it, the easier this gets. So it's another little fun tool to use. Okay, so that's it in a pine cone shell, if you will, for today. I know that we sped through a lot of things. I gave you a lot of information, but I do want to have a few moments for those of you who are still here to interact, ask questions, give your comments or your observations. And for the two people who I had to let in very late, I apologize. I don't know when you showed up. I'm very sorry. Zoom makes me put people in a waiting room now. And after, I let it go about 10 minutes. And after I didn't see anybody else, I kind of quit going back in there and looking. And I do apologize if you missed part of the class, but you will have the whole class on the recording. And I'll try to be better about that. I'm a one pony show here. So it's kind of hard to remember to do everything. And it didn't come up on a screen to show me that you were here. So I do apologize. But does anybody have any questions or comments or observations they want to give for what we did today?
Yeah, Debs, I was just wondering if you could just real briefly, I'm trying to take some notes for myself, go through all the steps and just touch on each one of them. So give myself a little reminder type thing. Right.
And I will, and that will be another thing that you're going to get is kind of a checklist, a process checklist, if you will, when the recording comes. So you'll have that. And, but basically what we do is, we I like to do this first thing in the morning while I'm still kind of in that hypnagogic state, if you will, or astral, close to the astral state from sleeping, but you can do it at any time. That's just a really good time. Another really good time is to do it if you wake up consistently between 3 and 4 in the morning to go to the bathroom or something. If you can make yourself do this practice at the time, you will have phenomenal results, I promise. But most of us can't do that because we have other lives that we have to live and we want to go back to sleep, and we do. If you can take a few minutes every morning to do it, or every evening before you go to bed, or whenever it's best for you, do it. So the first step is to take care of your bodily functions. You know, go to the bathroom. I like to at least blow my nose, if not use my neti pot. I like to brush my teeth and scrape my tongue too. That's just me, old yogic habit. And then I take some water. I always take some few sips of water to hydrate the body. Then I go and sit. I sit on a cushion, but you can sit in a chair or whatever feels good to you. If you use an eye mask, use the eye mask. If you want ear coverings, ear coverings. And then you settle yourself, sit up nice and tall, relax, take a deep breath in, turn your head to the left, and the double ha breath. As you exhale, turn your head forward and take another deep breath in. That's called the resurrection breath, by the way, that next breath. And basically, you're just signaling your mind and body that it's time to meditate, time to practice. Okay, so you do that, and then you internally recite the mantra Hong Sa. Hong on the inhale, Sa on the exhale. These are normal breath. You're just watching your breath. So however long your inhale is, you're going to say Hong internally. However long your exhale is, Sa. That settles you even more. And then you're going to do breath of fire. Okay, that nasal belly breath. Okay, as you inhale deeply, your belly's going to push out like a balloon, inflating. As you exhale, you pull it in and squeeze it. And then, okay, so you're pumping that belly. It's a great ab exercise, by the way. So that's helpful. And you will breathe, and the eye gaze, your eyes are closed. The eye gaze is up at the brow chakra. If you can handle it. If it gets tiring, let your eyes stay closed, but go back to normal place. You're going to breathe breath of fire. Initially, you do it as long as you can take it. You go slower or faster, whatever feels good to you, at least for a minute. That's the first time. Okay. After that, you're going to start building up, maybe a minute, 30 seconds, 2 minutes. You might even use a little timer, but just go at your own pace. When you're finished with breath of fire, you're going to take a deep breath in, and then you're going to engage all those bandhas, those locks. Bandha, B-A-N-D-H-A, bandha. It means lock. You're going to pull your pelvic floor up, belly button to the spine, squeeze your rib cage together, and kind of press your chin back a little bit. And what you want to visualize is all of that energy, that pressure moving up the spine into, pushing the cerebral spinal fluid up into the brain and squeezing the pineal gland to engage those crystals. You hold as hard as you can for as long as you can without passing out, obviously. And then you exhale and breathe normally. Keep your eyes closed. And then see what you can see behind your eyelids, or feel what you can feel. Hear what you can hear. Until you feel like you want to go to the next step. The next step would be the alternate nostril breath. And at the end of 1 to 3 minutes, you're going to take another deep breath in, and you're going to do the holds again, and the pressure and the pumping, and you're going to squeeze up to the pineal gland. And see what you can see after the exhale. And then the last thing is the sipping breath. Make that O-shaped mouth. Breathe in. Breathe out. What that does is it brings everything into the center of what's called the astral spine, basically. You're just bringing everything into the center of your awareness and pushing up. And after a minute or 3 minutes, however long you like to do sipping breath, some people really like it, so they'll stay there a while. Then you're going to do that deep breath in, hold, squeeze, push the energy up one more time to the pineal gland. And then as you exhale, you're going to stay there and meditate. And by meditate, I mean just stay there and focus on what you are noticing. And if thoughts start to come in and distract you, you can just, say netty, netty, netty internally, or you just bring your gaze back to that brow chakra for a moment. Whatever it takes. Sit, settle, stay. Say it all internally. And sit there for a while. And when you think you really are tired of it, stay there another minute. That's usually when the magic happens for me. I've learned long ago, when you start to get bored, that's when the magic happens. So stay there. And then you stay there as long as you like. And then you come out of it whenever you like and stretch and so forth. In my practice, that's when I do my physical yoga practice, is after that. Okay. Or if I'm doing it at night, then I'll go to bed. So why do we do all this crazy stuff just to get to that place? Well, eventually you will find that you might be able to get to that place without doing all of it by just thinking about it. And that's kind of our goal. But we do all the crazy stuff to give the left brain something to do because that's its function until it gets so freaking bored that it relaxes, the right brain comes in, and we're connected. Okay. I hope that helps. Anybody else? Andy, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, that was fantastic, all of it. Thank you. I enjoyed it. A few visualizations were very rich during the journey. I saw lots of different views changing all the time. It was very interesting. Thank you very much. That's certainly given me a structure to work on now. So it's all very timely. Everything happens, synchronously at the perfect time. So you've come along at the perfect time with a perfect lesson, I think. Thank you very much.
Well, you're listening to your intuition
Great.
and see what happens. That's following. I like to call it following the breadcrumbs, little synchronicities, little clues, little compulsions, little, wow, that looks interesting. Go there, even if it seems weird, because it's for you. You're starting to tune in and you're starting to get messages. You may not understand from whom or what, but that's how you're starting to channel for yourself. Okay. So thank you for being with us.
Thank you too.
And for all, again, I know we had some technical difficulties today. It was very clunky. It's just how it is right now. We're getting very close to the age of Aquarius actually happening. That happens on the 21st. Well, actually, it happens on the 19th. Everything comes into the age of Aquarius, which isn't all peace, love, and roses, like the song used to say, but it's the age of information and connection. So Aquarius is all about knowing, like really knowing. Okay. So for the next 200 years, that's what we're going to be all about. That's why we're connecting virtually suddenly. That's why we're connecting faster and faster and faster on our internet, that more information is able to come in really fast. We're able to share with each other. It's because that energy is starting. So it's a very synchronistic time to begin this work. And I'm so grateful to all of you for coming here and doing this with me. I will send you tomorrow the recording of this class, so you have all of it. If you came in late, I apologize for that. I didn't see you were here, Gail and KK, I'm so sorry. But you will have the complete class to work with. And I hope that you will use this every single day. Just go to, especially that guided journey, but at least listen to the class one more time if you can while you're driving or something. Well, don't listen to the journey while you're driving. I'll make sure you know that. But then I will also attach some resources for you that I mentioned earlier and a few more so that you can practice between now and the next class if you choose to take the advanced class. We'll go into not only how to hone in our attention and our signal, tune in our signal better, but we're going to talk about how to actually cleanse, and for some people who need it, decalcify the pineal gland. It can get very hardened and tough on the outside of its shell from certain things that happen in our environment. We're going to go into that, and then we're going to go into some advanced practices with it. And I hope you'll join us for that. Those of you who bought the 2 recording bundle, you'll get, or the 2 class bundle, either way, you'll get notification the same as people who are just joining in at the end a day or 2 before the class starts on the 19th. Okay, so thank you all so very much. I will ask humbly, please, when you get these recordings, don't share them with other people. Not because I don't want this information to get out to the world, but I want to honor the fact that you all paid to get in here. And it's how I make my living as well. I make, a little bit of a living off of it. If someone's interested in what you're all excited about, maybe, and you're telling them about it, just have them contact me, and I will, make arrangements to get them a recording for the same tuition that or exchange that you made. Okay, so thanks so much. Are there any closing words from anybody before we leave you off? I'm keeping you 15 minutes late, and I apologize, but I want you to really get it. Everybody good?
Thank you, Debs. Great.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
You can unmute and say bye to each other if you like, and then leave the meeting. I will send you all of that information. Much love and gratitude to all of you. Thank you so much. So grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The journey was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. All right. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Ron.